Hey, Kentucky, we are happy to be joined from InsiderLouisville.com. My guy, Joe Sonka, been on top of the U of L story as much as anybody. I continue to hear bizarre things. Give us the latest on what's happening right now with Pitino and Jurich.
Well, Pitino, as of yesterday, was fired by a unanimous vote of the University of Louisville Athletic Association board, which I think most people expected to see coming, but it was still a shock to see that happen.
Yeah, because you at some point just wondered if it would ever happen.
Right.
You know, I mean, like even if you heard it, you wondered. Now, talk to me about what happened with his lawyer, these comments. Former Lieutenant Governor Steve Pence, you kind of have been part of that. What happened?
So last night I was looking over the text again from their presentation to the board of why Pitino shouldn't be fired, and I noticed that the last text that Rick Pitino sent to Jim Gatto, one of the main defendants
from Adidas,
from Adidas, and it was a text that was on September 28th, which was 2 days after this whole story broke when the charges
So if you just look at that, you would go, was he texting Gaddis, who had been arrested by the FBI 2 days after,
and arranging a meeting.
Arranging a meeting. So you asked Pence, and what did he tell you?
And he said, "Oh, that was just the date that the text was copied, and he never had any contact with Gatto after the 26th."
So he was then saying he copied it and sent it, but that was the only text he sent that day.
And that's not how phones work. Yeah, so all the other dates were from August and earlier. So this morning he changed and said, well, yes, he did text him, but it was an accident, and he meant to text me because he was busy copying and pasting.
Oh, so he is
Gatto's
alleging
text.
that Pitino texted Gattos, but accidentally?
It was an accident. He meant to be texting him. So it was all a wacky coincidence.
Do you believe that?
I mean, that's at least physically possible. His earlier explanation, that's not how phones work. So at least there's some plausibility behind that.
Now, tomorrow, Tom Jurich is his fate apparently could be decided by the U of L Board of Trustees. Do you think we will have a final resolution tomorrow?
It's certainly possible. I wouldn't certainly bet on it happening tomorrow. It might take a little more time. But there's certainly a great possibility. If you look at the makeup of the trustees, he really doesn't have any of the old allies that he used to have on the board of trustees.
It's a completely new board.
Yeah, it's a completely new board. So there's a possibility, even if it isn't tomorrow, he might not last much longer. Even though there's some grassroots support.
Well, let me ask you about that grassroots. I mean, there are these business leaders. You've had Bill Lamb, a terrible television executive. You've had a lot of people come out and say, "Hey, he needs to stay. The city won't survive it." Do you think since that's getting any traction?
I think there is some support for Tom Jurich in the community. There may be even a lot of support, but with this board of trustees, I'm not sure that it even matters because they were put in charge to change things and clean up all the mess, and I'm not sure that they're going to just say, well, we'll give you another chance.
Well, you know, Matt Bevin put this board in place, has said clean it up, but then he went on the radio with Terry Miners last week and said something like, I'm not sure Tom Jurich's time at U of L is over. What did you make of that?
It was very vague. He didn't explicitly endorse keeping Tom Jurich. He kind of left it open and said, well, it's going to be up to this board. I'm not really involved, but he's done a great job.
But he did say he didn't think it was over.
Yeah. So he's saying, like, there's a chance he'll stay, but it's not up to me. It's up to these other people.
So you don't think that was a hint to the board people?
I don't think so. I think he was just being vague and saying, like, he doesn't want people thinking that that's his board, you know, that he's telling them all what to do.
Yeah. All right. So the question is, you think in the end Jurich is gone, whether it's tomorrow or down the road?
I think it's unclear. If I had to bet on it, I would say he will be gone soon. But it's not really good to make predictions about U of L these days.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Isn't part of it the fact that he has been such a figure in this city that it's hard to imagine a dude that was that powerful actually going away? He's almost like the hand from the grave.
It's almost like as much as Pitino. It's like it's hard. Yeah. It's difficult to comprehend, and that this is actually happening.
Yeah, so. It kind of is. Do you believe if they get rid of all these guys, is the university at that point bouncing back in the right direction? I mean, will this have been the final house cleaning?
Well, every time we think it's the final house cleaning, it's not. So, once again, and
there's probably still more to come out about what happened with the previous administration. Don't you think?
With the foundation audit, there's still the question of whether the board of trustees is going to wind up suing Jim Ramsey or any of the other employees. That could be decided in tomorrow's meeting too. It's going to be a really busy
heck of a meeting. What time does that start?
That's at 1:00 tomorrow.
All right, 1:00 tomorrow. So, at Joe Sonka, You've been on this. I'm going to shake your hand. You've been on this for years, back when no one was covering it. I think there's a big part of why a lot of this has happened has been because of you. So I mean that. I'm not just saying that. I actually think you've done quite a bit.